While we may or may not be very productive, our mind is always productive. Bruce Lee once said, and I quote, "The mind is a fertile garden. It will grow anything you wish to plant, beautiful flowers or weeds. And it is with successful, healthy thoughts or negative ones that will, like weeds, strangle and crowd the others. Do not allow negative thoughts to enter your mind, for they are the weeds that strangle confidence." End quote. Let's take a step back. When we talk about weeds, what comes to mind? For most people, weeds are what we pluck out of the gardens because they are hurting our gardens. They're not helping them. I know people find weed plucking therapeutic and satisfying because they're kind of conducting surgery on the garden, on a live ecosystem, and helping it get fitter and stronger and healthier. So I can see the appeal in that. And weeds are what? Weeds are basically unwanted plants that sprout in certain conditions and could potentially create havoc for our crops, our fruits. Why? Because they compete with our crops and fruits for water and nutrients and sunlight. And because of the presence of weeds, the crop yield drops, the quality of the fruit drops. Not to mention the potential for insect infestation, the potential for allergies, and even poisonous secretions that can hurt both animals and humans. But let's just take this concept to our mind. So, like Bruce Lee said, our mind is like a fertile garden, and it will grow anything seeded into it, good or bad. So when we surround ourselves with negativity, we open our mental garden to mental weeds, which these weeds, by the way, then compete with our positive thoughts, our healthy thoughts, and essentially they run the risk of overcoming our mind garden and turning it into a mind wasteland of sorts. So what could potentially trigger these mental weeds? Well, how much time do we have? I can talk about this for hours. But if I were to just summarize some of the negative triggers that can lead to these mental weeds, are behaviors or thought patterns that include, let's say, self-pity, the unchecked envy or jealousy, the finger pointing, the catastrophizing of events, the attention seeking and constant manipulation, the my way or the highway spoiled brat syndrome, as I call it, the endless lying, the perpetual judgment, the mind reading, the passive aggressiveness, the dwelling on the negatives, the disqualifying of the positives, the overplaying of the sensitivity card. Wow, I'm just getting depressed rattling these off. But my point is to never underestimate what we see, especially these negative thoughts that I just talked about. What we hear or see or speak or put ourselves in or around all creates opportunities for mental weeds to creep in. You can be a mentally very strong person, but I've seen this. I've seen example after example that if you constantly surround yourself with whiners and complainers and negative people, you will pick up the negativity virus, and soon you may find yourself suffering from this feeling of helplessness and even despair. And this may not just surprise you, because you said to yourself, I'm a pretty solid person. I can see things through. I've got perspective. I feel good about my emotional levels, my overall intelligence, my emotional IQ, etc., emotional quotient and intelligence quotient and all that. But this would still surprise you. Why? Because just like weeds grow fast, so do negative thoughts. You can be a strong person one day, and a couple of days or weeks down the road, you could just find yourself alien to yourself. So be very careful. Also know and be aware that your mind cannot automatically filter all the negative and only keep in all the positive. Wouldn't that be wonderful? But that's just not true. That's not the reality. The filters that will keep these weeds out come from us. It comes from awareness, mindfulness, consciousness, and premeditated efforts to maintain our mental garden. Of course, we can never completely eliminate mental weeds, but we can work on our environment, our relationships and networks, our choice of words, our habits, our feed. What are we listening to? What book we reading or not reading? Our awareness. I keep using this word over and over again. All of this is crucial because what we plant in our mind and nurture over time will one day for sure become our reality.